Hi, welcome to Clearing the Smoke with Christy Orders on AmericaAgainstHollywood.com. Well, we had a great debate the other night. It wasn't nearly as exciting as last week's, definitely much more mellow. But we thought, the group I was watching with, we thought that Pence did a really good job. He was definitely quiet and more mellow, certainly more so than Trump, but he had these zingers he'd come back with. I mean, he would sit there without much expression and then just lay out the facts against Kamala. And we thought he did a really good job. I was a little bit disappointed that the moderator, once again, seemed to be, she wasn't nearly as bad as Chris Wallace, but you could tell she was favoring Kamala, at least in my opinion, in terms of giving her a little bit more time for rebuttals. And of course, her questions were easier or better than his questions were. But I love how he took control and he would answer what he wanted to answer. He didn't let them boss him around. And, you know, two women where he would try to be so nice and politically correct and not argue back. I think he held his own really well. And he was a class act as always, congratulating Kamala and everything. But she was not a class act at all. We thought it was absolutely disgusting watching her expressions. But does she know she's on a split screen? Does she know that we're watching her faces? Because it was so bad, so just haughty and smug and just condescending. It was hard to even explain how bad her expressions were. And I hope that turned off some women who were thinking about her, who maybe thought she seemed likable. Because someone that cocky and obnoxious is not someone I would want to be vice president, and certainly not to be the president. Because let's not kid ourselves, she will be president during this term. If he's elected, I give it 8 months, maybe a year, till she's the president. So we need to really look at her much more carefully than we would most vice presidential candidates. And what so many people don't realize is how many people of color she helped put behind bars. She was a bulldog as a prosecutor in San Francisco. And she was quite proud of it then, and now she acts like she, is totally on the other side. She kind of swings whatever way the political wind seems to be going, but she isn't really very authentic. I would say that she is the most, well, it's not me saying it, is actually she's been ranked as the most liberal senator we have in this country. More liberal than Bernie Sanders. That's crazy. So if she's that far left, the most liberal person we have, is she a good person to be the vice president or the president? No way. That is in no way moderate. And that is not what we need at all. I've never really liked her personality, but I really disliked her after last night. And I hope that people look into a little bit more. You can Google Willie Brown, her longtime boyfriend in San Francisco. You can look into some other things that she's done in her past that are not so savory. And she also doesn't seem to think that Biden's very savory, because she said during the primary debates, she basically hinted that Biden was a racist, which actually there's a lot of evidence that he is. And she also said, I believe the woman who said you raped her. You believe that woman? Well, why would you want to partner with that guy? That makes no sense. Think about that, ladies. Would you say that about a guy and then want to work with him? It makes no sense. They are so inauthentic as a group or as a pair. Oh, I can't stand it. But anyway, those debates never really matter that much. The VP debate never really makes the election. Historically, the person who won the debate, it didn't even mean that ticket won that year. It very rarely happens. So it doesn't really matter. Much more important this week, the things you really need to be looking for are all of the stories about voter fraud. We have Project Veritas, which does really cool undercover reporting. They uncovered a scheme that's going on in Minnesota. We have a New Jersey postal worker caught getting rid of, I think, 1,600 ballots, something like that. We had a truck in Pennsylvania, several huge trucks that were carting off and destroying and ripping up Republican voter applications. We have 1,300 indictments in Texas for voter fraud right now. So it's happening all over the place, y'all, and it's really, really scary, because what they're going to do is the whole voter fraud thing, the whole mail-in thing is so ridiculous. That was done as supposedly because of COVID. We can't go mail things, or we can't go stand in line to vote, even though we can stand in line at Walmart, we can stand in line to protest, we can stand in line to, go buy weed in a lot of states, but you can't just show up at the polling place. It's just too dangerous. So they want you to mail everything in. Most of these states aren't equipped for it, and the Democrats are taking full advantage of this. It's going to be a nightmare. We definitely aren't going to know on election night, or at least I don't think we will. I think what's going to happen is Trump's going to be winning by the end of the day, and then they're going to say, oh, we still have to count all these ballots. And some states, they're letting them, I think they're letting ballots come in for like a week to 10 days in some states. Why? That makes no sense. We all know that when something is due, like a bill or a contract, it's due when it's due. It's not due a week later or whenever it trickles in, but they're going to use that to their advantage. And the states that Biden is losing in just a little bit, they're going to make up just enough to eke out some electoral points. Just wait. So I do have to say I'm glad that Trump is not ready to just concede automatically. He's too much of a fighter. So I'm glad about that this time. It sounds scary. They're trying to make it sound like he's so scary. If he won fairly or lost fairly, he would accept either way. But he's going to fight to make sure that it is fair. And I think we should all be happy about that, instead of a wimpy Republican like most are, who would just concede. But the biggest story this week that is totally getting ignored, blows my mind, is the Russia documents. Trump allowed them to be released, thousands of documents. We now know you can actually read it. Read it with your own eyes. John Brennan sitting in a meeting with Obama, handwritten notes. And he's saying, well, Hillary has a plan to try to tie Trump to Russia to drum up a case so that it will distract everyone from her email scandal. Remember how she deleted 30,000 emails that had been subpoenaed? Yeah, never got in trouble for it. It's right there that he met with Obama and said that he was going to do that. But this is so gigantic, I just can't even believe this is cutting new. This is like cut in the middle of your show. We have to announce this. Here's what's happened. We're interrupting this broadcast. This is what happened. This makes Watergate look like a Cub Scout picnic. Okay? I mean, I don't know why more people aren't talking about this, because the fact that we know now that they created this, it's proof that they created this entire scandal to try to distract from Hillary, to try to undermine Trump's integrity, and then to try to impeach him. This is such huge news. I don't know why people aren't leaving in handcuffs, why people aren't being arrested right now, and why the media isn't demanding it, but they are silent. If you tune into most of the mainstream cable channels, they have not said one word. They're much more concerned with Trump, like ripping off his mask or doing something inappropriate. That's all they care about. And you need to be paying attention to that. So Google that or look that up, Russia documents that were actually released or allowed to be let out into the public, and look up John Brennan. And you also might want to look at the mail-in fraud this week as well. Look up some of the states' evidence of voter fraud. It's all over the place. Those are huge things that are happening this week. We have to pay attention because these things really, really matter. Our democracy is at stake, people. It really is. So anyway, thank you for listening to some of the little highlights of the week. Once again, this is Clearing the Smoke with Christy Orders. You can like, share, or subscribe. You can also email me at christy@americaagainsthollywood.com. And that's CHRISTY. You can also get on my Facebook, which is Clearing the Smoke with Christy Orders, and get on that group. And thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great weekend, and God bless America.